There are a few of you that are showing up as A. Blackburn. If you just want to double check that your name is coming through correct, and if not, change it, or you can shoot me a message and I can change it.
Hey, Morgan, I can't show my video.
Yeah, it says the host has stopped all video.
That's correct.
I don't care if you see my face, but some might want to.
All right, you guys should be able to see your video now.
It's not any better looking than it was a while ago.
And then eventually, Morgan, I'll need to be a co-host so I can share a screen. Not right now, but a little later.
Steve, usually in the webinars, the participants are all allowed to share their screen.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve.
Come on, Steve, keep up.
We love you, Steve.
Okay. Let's see if we got a council here. Diane's just coming on. Jan's with us. I see Joe Paul. Looks like we have a quorum. I know Brian's going to be coming on real quick.
Looks like I'm showing up all over the place.
Yeah, we'll give him just a couple more seconds. He was working that iPad.
That's how
Kind of a-
attorneys are, Andy.
You're kind of a bad
Pretty
lawyer,
sick.
Andy. You have to keep on giving.
Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. You got your recording on, Morgan?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's jump in. I don't see Brian yet. Let me pull up and see if he's any of the participants. I don't see him coming on yet, Morgan, but we need to start the meeting at 5:30. So let's go ahead and jump in. I want to welcome everybody out to our Royce City Council meeting, January 19th City Council meeting. Want to recognize that we do have Councilmember Wilson, Councilmember Paul, Councilmember Burrell, Councilmember Jackson, and I do not see Councilmember Saxton, but I assume he'll be rolling in here in just a few seconds. Okay, if you would, I'd like to lead in the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you will, join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and we'll do a Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to point to a flag somewhere. Where is that flag?
On my screen.
Yep, okay, so we're pointing at Joe Paul's screen. Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Council, we have on our agenda some consent items. Let me be specific on the consent items. First, the approval of the November 17th, 2020 consent item is actually a work session. It's not a city council meeting. When you read through it, you probably noticed that it was a consent item. So just be aware that that's what that one is. And the December 1st is in fact a council meeting minutes. We also have the 2021 Royce City Council appointment and assignment letters. I need to get concurrence from the council on a consent and review and consent. in order for me to send out some papers to some other organizations that you agreed to that. Any comments or questions relative to these consent items? Any changes, anything? Okay, let me just clarify the Roy 2021 Roy City Council appointment assignments. It made good sense. The request came in asking that we simply be able to continue running the ones we had last year, in large part because we just weren't able to do everything we could have done and should have done last year. That's the purpose behind that. So having said that, do I have a motion then to approve the consent items?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, Joe, do I have a second?
Second.
Diane,
Diane? Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That's the consent items. Okay, Matt, who's going to talk about employee of the month?
We actually have Ryan Britt here from, he's the superintendent over building maintenance. Will be presenting something.
Ryan, go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor,
Yeah.
can I just, can I ask that you read that electronic statement?
Oh, no, right, it's sitting right in front of me. Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
And I got it marked on my calendar. Thank you. I apprate that.
You should have
One
it
more time,
memorized by now.
Let me just clarify exactly what we're referring to here. I'm required for the record to basically notify that we are in fact going to do an electronic session. As I mentioned in an earlier meeting, on January 15th, we actually have to date, we had 3,213 cases in Roy. And as of the 15th of January, we have actually 437 active cases. These are people within Roy City on that date who are actively fighting this pandemic. As a result of that, I, Mayor Robert Dandoy, in accordance with Utah State Section 52-3-207, 4, have determined that conducting a meeting in the Roy City Council chambers presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who would be present at the City Council chambers. The basis of this determination is that due to the infectious nature and potentially dangerous health effect of contracting the COVID-19 virus, there is not sufficient space in the council chambers to provide appropriate, safe physical distancing for the safety of individuals who would attend. Accordingly, on this day, 19 January 2021, we are going to hold a meeting, this council meeting, electronically without an anchor location. Morgan, thank you for reminding me. I had it in front of me. I was going to get to it, but I need to do that up front. Thank you. Okay, having said that, Mr. Britt, please.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to nominate the following for Employee of the Month: Adam Taylor, Brandon Wallace, Lee Wallstrom, John Nesbitt, Preston Robinson, Jesse Sainsbury, Carson Young, and Skylar Webster. This group of guys, also known as the Christmas Light Crew, started putting up lights on September 14th and worked tirelessly to finish for the tree lighting ceremony. Putting up Christmas lights is not an easy job. The weather is not always ideal, and it takes a lot of teamwork and strategy to get them all up by the deadline. With the exception of a few veterans, the crew was new this year. I am pleased to say that everyone came together and did an amazing job. I'm very proud of the crew. Their hard work and dedication really paid off, and I know it brought smiles to everyone that had the opportunity to see the Roy City lights. Thank you.
Okay, great comments. Okay, council, thoughts on that?
They were fantastic. Woo, thank you. They were great. We needed
Mayor, I
it.
had more comments this year than I've ever had about how much it's appreciated that Roy City does the tree lightings.
Kudos to the city. I was very appreciative to be able to be part of the flipping of the switch of that. I know that young man and his family were very grateful to be the mascots for that.
Yeah,
A
we
bright
agree.
spot in a dark year.
For sure.
And is the same crew in charge of putting them all on the tree, on the light post up and down? Because that's awesome too.
Yep.
I mean, they do a
same.
fantastic job.
Yep, same guys. They are amazing. And
Yes,
they
they are.
are every year, you know, and this year was no exception. They were
Right.
awesome.
Excellent. I think, Brett, I think what you've heard from this council is a great appreciation. With that, council, then, do I have a motion then to approve the individuals, as we've heard, be the employees of the month?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
Diane, thank you on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Perfect. And by the way, thank you for submitting your team members. It's
Yeah.
always better that we hear it from the right source, and obviously you're close enough to the action. You've seen the contribution and the effort they provided, and that's very, very important. Thank you for nominating them. And equally important, council, thank you for selecting them as being the employees of the month. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we have a public hearing to discuss a resolution to adopt adjustments to the fiscal year budget 2021. So how we'll do that would be, as I like, if we can, Camille, go ahead and talk about it. Then we'll go into a public hearing. If there's anybody who'd like to talk about it, we'll allow them to come back, and then we'll come back and listen to the council's comments on it. So please give us a little rundown in terms of what you're offering.
Mayor and Council, we are here tonight to present Resolution 21-1 for your consideration to amend the fiscal year 2021 budget based on the information you received in your council packets. This proposed resolution will amend the previously approved budget by $9,000. That $9,000 is to account for use of fund balance in the Information Technology Fund. All other budget changes proposed at this time are adjustments between various departments and will not increase the overall budgeted amounts. No revenue adjustments are being proposed for consideration at this time. Resolution 21-1 proposes an increase to the Legislative Employee Programs budget of $210,842. This will distribute pandemic hazard pay to public safety employees and a corresponding increase of $72,838 to cover the benefits associated with hazard pay for sworn public safety employees. This resolution also includes an increase to the police department wages and benefit budget of $35,000. This will fill the sworn police officer position that was previously left unfilled during the initial approved budget. This adjustment will return the police department to their full staffing levels and will help substantially with turnover and retirements so that they are at their full staffing and can utilize all of their sworn positions. The above changes will be covered by currently budgeted police and fire wages and benefits. All of the CARES Act funding has now been expended, and Resolution 21-1 also includes a final accounting of how the CARES Act funding was spent and approval to transfer funding between the various CARES Act accounts in that CARES Act department to adjust for actual costs and availability of supplies that we were able to purchase. And the final item included on this resolution is the use of fund balance reserves in the Information Technology Fund. This is to cover the cost of a new vehicle. IT's current vehicle is a 2003 model and started having problems last summer. They have been using the old deputy fire chief's vehicle, but as you recently approved a position to change that to a battalion chief, they are moving forward with hiring and need that vehicle back. So this would give IT a new vehicle, and we propose that it would be put into the one-year rotation schedule that we have for replacement in other departments. So with that, we leave Resolution 21-1 up to you to receive public comment and for your consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Camille. Let's go ahead and do I have a motion then to go into a public hearing?
Yes. So
Okay,
moved.
Joe, there's a motion to go into public hearing. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Okay, we are now in a public hearing. Morgan, do we have anybody who would like to weigh in and provide comments to the proposed resolution 21-1?
I believe the only request to make comment at this time was from Kevin Homer. And he's been brought on now.
Kevin, did you want to make comment on this one, or do you want to make comment on public comment period?
Thank you, Mayor. Megan, my request is to participate in agenda item F, which is public comments, not necessarily here on item E2 for the public hearing on 21-1.
Okay, thank
All
you, Kevin. Okay, anybody else, Morgan? Anybody else weighing in at all?
No, sir.
Okay,
Make a motion.
seeing
we
nobody
close
else
public
having
hearing.
public comments, do I have a motion then to close the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Joe, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
That was Ann, okay?
Yes.
First and second. So we have Joe give us a first to close, and we have Ann give a second. All in favor?
I,
Okay, any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, we're out of public hearing. Go ahead, council. Any questions or comments you'd like to make to Camille based on resolution 21-1?
So my question is, we received CARES Act funding and we allocated a portion of that to offset the wages for police and fire for hazard pay. That's exactly what this is doing, is shoring up that budget adjustment. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I just want to say how much we appreciate our accounting department, our finance department for the hard work that they put into making that fit the appropriate allotments from the CARES Act.
There's a lot of moving pieces to that CARES Act and making sure we properly accounted for it and spent it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
yeah, great job, Camille. We're lucky to have you. You do an awesome job.
Absolutely.
okay. Any other comments, council? Okay,
I have
hearing
a
none then.
question. I have a question about the vehicle, the IT vehicle. Camille, you were talking about putting that into the rotation. So how often then, so they managed 18 years on their other vehicle, it sounds like. How often does that rotation then go through? Is it like they'll get a new one in 2 years or 3 years or 10 or what is that?
Right now with the Public Works vehicles, we have been selling them every year. And we found that's kind of the sweet spot in the market, that we can usually sell them for approximately the price we pay for them. And that keeps them in a new vehicle. We don't pay any maintenance that first year except for oil changes. But we are able to recoup our costs and purchase a new vehicle. So that is what we would recommend for this vehicle as well.
Under the state contract fund, that makes sense. I did a proposal to the sewer board a couple of weeks ago, and all their admin vehicles that they do not put any modifications on, they are now moving to a 1-year replacement, because the dealers they're buying them from will guarantee to buy them back for what they paid for them a year later, as long as there's no major damage to them. So zero cost of ownership, like you say, maybe an oil change, maybe 2, and we're out of them for what we're into them. It's good fiscal decisions.
Thank you.
Okay, other comments? Okay, hearing none then, do I have a motion then to approve resolution 21-1, adopting adjustments to the fiscal year 2021 budget?
So moved.
Okay, I heard Jan as the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
And
I'll second
second it.
Okay, I heard Joe say second it. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Sorry. Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
I,
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, council. We have now resolution 21-2, designating individuals to act in behalf of Roy City in transactions concerning public treasurer investment funds. Camille, is that you or Matt?
Yes, that is me again.
Okay.
You'll hear from me a lot for these first few items. So resolution 21-2 is before you tonight to approve the public entity resolution with the Office of the State Treasurer's Office. This is to certify the individuals authorized to act on Roy City's behalf to access and transact in the Utah Public Treasurer's Investment Fund. This is also known as the PTIF Fund. So this is the fund where we maintain most of our fund balance reserves, and we transfer from this fund into our operating checking account to make transactions on behalf of Roy City and pay our invoices. So although the signers have not changed since the last time you certified the authorized individuals, the council recently approved a change to have our primary bank be Bank of Utah. So we need to recertify the authorized individuals for us to add the additional bank account to our PTIF account, so we can transfer from the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund to Bank of Utah now. So we recommend that you approve Resolution 21-2, so we can continue to transact and transfer funds between that PTIF account and our operating bank accounts.
Okay, council, having heard all of that, any questions for Camille?
Nope, I just heard you're saving a lot of money by changing banks.
We hope so, yes.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Any other comments? Hearing none then, do I have a motion then to approve Resolution 21-2, designating individuals to act on behalf of Roy City in transactions concerning the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund?
So
So-
moved.
Okay, Diane, do I
Second,
have a second?
second, Jan.
Okay, second, Jan, thank you. Morgan, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
I,
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, council. Okay, we have now resolution 21-3. This is adding one customer service / clerk position to the management service department. Camille, I assume you're going to talk about this one.
Yes, so I would like to talk about resolutions 21-3 and 21-4 together. These are both related to job descriptions in the utility billing office. In 2018, a second customer service clerk 2 position was added to this office, and due to recent turnover, one of those clerk positions is currently unfilled. So we took the opportunity to review the job descriptions, the responsibilities, and our recommendation is this new job description be approved. This would actually create a lower level, entry level customer clerk 1 position. Our goal is this would allow people to get started with the city, and then they can build their career as they gain experience. The original structure had both positions working the same workload, and this change will allow for a tiered structure in the utility office that will help with both progression and advancement opportunities. It will separate the job responsibilities. It will individualize the employees and enable more experienced clerks to complete higher level tasks. And eventually, we hope this change will also decrease personnel costs, since this position is a lower level, and that is previously budgeted in and approved by council. We're also looking forward to the future of the utility office, and when we switch to monthly billings, more payments will be received each month, and this will create more of a data entry workload. So this position would allow for a position to be primarily responsible for receiving all of those payments received through the mail and the drop box each month. Everywhere else in the city, we have a level 1 position as the entry level, and then it goes up to a level 2, 3, so on. And for some reason, these positions were reversed. So this will also align these positions more with all of the other departments in the city to have the customer service clerk 1 as a lower entry level position that can then progress to a 2. The billing assistant and purchasing clerk position is retitled to reflect the current responsibilities of that position and the addition of the purchasing responsibilities being added at this level. As we move toward monthly billing, the billing assistant responsibilities will change to better assist the billing supervisor and keep up with that increased workload. And these changes are reflected in the job description to ensure we provide the best service to our residents. So we recommend that council approve the new job description for the customer service clerk 1 and the title change and updated job description for the billing assistant / purchasing clerk as outlined in resolutions 21-3 and 21-4.
Okay, council questions?
is that a full-time position or a part-time?
Yes, this is a
It's
full-time
a
position.
full-time.
I think
Let
it's
me
a
ask-
good move. I think it's a good move to create a job.
Trajectory,
I can't.
that
even think of the word.
trajectory.
Yes.
Yeah, let me
To
ask
create
you,
a
Right,
career
it could
path.
just be like a college student who could come in and somebody and get experience and maybe decide to stay.
Yes, that's our
So-
hope with this as well.
let me ask
I
you,
like that
Camille.
term, Joe.
Career path.
Yeah, let
Yeah,
me
correct.
ask Camille, I
Right.
think we need this for the record. By establishing a new one, what is the labor and benefit cost to the city to establish this new position?
So the old position was budgeted at $14.21 an hour starting. This one would be budgeted at $14 an hour starting. So it would just be a slight savings to the city.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Are you saying you're canceling a position? Or you got a vacant position and you want to change a vacant position to make it now this position?
Correct. We have a vacancy, and so we wanted to create a lower level position and
Okay,
open it at a lower level.
okay. So in essence, you will save at least some money at the front of that one, okay? And the other one you're proposing is to take a current position and you're going to enhance that position by not just having the customer service clerk, but you're going to also add other duties. How much more are you going to pay, the city going to pay for the other duties for that other position?
This position is proposed to stay at the same level. It's a title change, and we changed the job description to take away some of the customer service responsibilities in exchange for the purchasing responsibilities. So it's the same level. So there's no change in cost.
So in essence, both resolution 21-3 and resolution 21-4, there's no net increase of authorizations of personnel requirements. You're just shuffling to get them more stabilized to meet your future needs and to provide a training avenue for employees. Is that how we understand it?
Yes, and if anything, we expect that we'll see a fiscal decrease by switching this to a lower entry level position.
Okay, council, any other questions or comments for Camille on this issue? Okay, we'll approach this on as two different actions. Then do I have a motion then to approve resolution 21-3, adding one customer service / clerk position in the management service department?
So moved.
Hey, Diane, I got a motion to approve, and did I hear you, Jan, say second?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Jan, for a second on resolution 21-3. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, resolution 21-4. This is changing one customer service clerk's one position, billing assistant position to one of a billing assistant and purchasing clerk position in the management services department. Do I have a motion then to approve resolution 21-4?
So moved.
Okay, Joe, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Brian? Okay. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have resolution 21-5, council approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between Roy City and Weber County on paramedic service. Chief, I believe you're going to talk to this, although I don't see. Oh, there you are. Go ahead, Greg.
I was hoping the video was coming through. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Good. How are you doing, Chief?
Doing great, sir. Thank you.
Are y'all back together?
Yeah, I'm all back together. Another titanium plate in. I'm good to go now.
You're full of scrap metal, buddy.
That's exactly. So, yes, sir. So pretty excited about these interlocal agreements, and I know everybody's probably pretty tired of hearing about interlocal agreements. The problem is they come up every 5 years, and the questions just tend to be there. And I'm more than willing to answer any questions here tonight if I don't don't cover them in my presentation. The first one is obviously the paramedic services. This is a long-time service that's been in Weber County, been provided by basically it was Ogden and Roy for many years, and is now includes Weber Fire District. And it's a county-wide service that we get, and both agreement has been in place to provide this ALS or paramedic level service via our rescue vehicles. Now that's a shared cost, and many of the costs are other than the personnel are covered by the county. They provide the vehicles, they provide certain equipment that's provided on those vehicles, and then basically we provide the staffing, the training, and the other bits that's not included in the overall agreement. So this agreement has been in place, like I said, for quite a number of years. Pretty excited when I got in here. This is one of the first things that hadn't been addressed from Roy for a couple years. And so we were wanting to make it fair amongst the three entities that provide the paramedic service. And we were successful in increasing that cost of amount of money we get over $45,000. So that's been increased as of January this year. We'll get an additional $45,000 throughout the year for that service. And then with the rates that went up in our other rate transfer, this will end up being a revenue increase overall for this fiscal year for us as well, because that actually went up as well. So that agreement, along with the equipment and the vehicle rotation, was very important to me. So this agreement also has changed the vehicle. Instead of being a 10-year rota, it's now a 5-year. So those vehicles, one we just got replaced, and the other one will be 7 years when it gets replaced. But they get so many miles put on them, so much wear and tear so fast. It's nice that they're in a 5-year rotation to get changed and get a new ones in. So that's there. Things like our life packs, our vents, and our Lucas machines for CPR have also been in a rotation that actually rotates them. Instead of being 5 to 10 years, they're also in a 3 to 5 year rota. So that's actually been this agreement. When it talks about improvements, really the only thing you might see in here is the cost or revenue that we get in. But overall, this has been a very successful year for Roy and for the citizens of the county for the paramedic service that's provided, which is really good for all our citizens. So I recommend that resolution 21-5 gets approved.
Okay, any questions or comments, council?
Make a motion, we approve it.
Let me ask a question before we go to the motion. Let me just verify. According to the document, the county is planning to pay the city then $410,000 a year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and with that 400,000, then because our paramedics are picking up people, there's also revenue being generated for our paramedics picking up people that helps augment the losses that we take in terms of the cost to provide this service. Is that correct?
That's correct. So there's an additional fee. So anytime we go outside the county, not just anybody in Roy City, but anybody that we transfer and use the paramedic service and any other city in the county, we get that paramedic fee added to our and reimbursable.
Okay. Matt, best guess on your amount. I know I've talked this over and over again the times that these issues come up. What is the percentage of costs that typically, just a percentage estimate of what it costs us to provide the service in terms of what we get in return in revenue? Mute.
You're muted, Matt.
That's a pretty hard estimate to come off the top of my head, but if you take the entire fire department budget, they also have suppression in there, fire suppression, and then EMS services. But then we get about $1.2 million, $1.3 million back in those types of fees. That's nothing to do with what we're getting from Weber County,
Right.
But that's like all EMS. We're getting about that, and then we're getting another couple $100,000 from the transfers that we're doing. So about $1.5 million for just EMS services.
Just EMS.
But that has nothing to do with what we're getting today, that $400,000. So add that on top.
Okay. Well,
And
to be
that
honest with you,
actually is increased, Mayor. This those numbers that city manager mentioned was closer to the last year's. This year will be almost 1.7 on the revenue. And we're about 110 behind transfers. And so we're going to be probably an increase of near 100 on that, as well as the 35 that we've just increased on for the PMA. So we're actually just over 2.7. I think 2.4 to 2.5 will be our fiscal year gain this year.
Okay. Okay, sounds like the numbers are moving in the right direction. Perfect. Okay, Joe Paul, you had a motion?
Yes, sir. And it still stands.
Okay, we have a motion from Joe for approval of resolution 21-5, which is approving the interlocal agreement between Royce City and the Weber County for paramedic service. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jan, second that motion. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Saxton,
Yes, aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, we got a lot of resolutions tonight. Resolution 21-6. This talks about approving an interlocal agreement between Royce City and Weber County on the urban search and rescue team. Chief, go ahead.
Yes, this is actually a pretty exciting one. This is actually started prior to my arrival last year with all the 6 cities within Weber County. And this is to establish a urban search and rescue team or a funding revenue that actually has been relied upon through the state and federal grant system in order to fund. This is a very specialized team process and require a city can't do this. A city or any entity by itself is almost near impossible to do these services. Just the amount of training extra and the specialty teams is hard to do. So they've regionalized these teams, and the difference between these teams, the team that we're doing here, and like what a Weber County Search and Rescue does, the dive team, the mountain rescue, and searches in general. This is specialized like swiftwater rescue, anything on the rivers, confined space. So anytime anybody goes into a manhole, confined space permitting is required under OSHA. And these type of teams require specialty training to basically be able to help or assist in those areas, to include construction sites that do trench rescue, earthquakes, collapse rescue. If a building were to collapse, they need the specialized tools, equipment, and training to be able to provide these rescues successfully and safely. So
Can I be a part of it?
Sorry.
Can I be a part of it as a volunteer?
I even want to be part of that too. So we'll work a way we can be some honorary members there at least. This is actually pretty neat though, that they've used the funding that is similar to, and it's coming from the county. And it's my fault that it's got so delayed getting to the council. This actually was all gone through and approved while I was in the hospital and a couple times that I was out. So it had gone through approval processes with the entities. And we had 6 people on the regional team, which is under the grant funded position, and a limited additional funding, and not a continual stream of money under those circumstances. But we actually have what's set up here is we ended up getting what was an old agreement, and 3 people were on that. We will still be able to maintain 6 to keep the certifications. But as it mentions in the subcontractor section thereafter, we can actually amend or add an addendum to this agreement and get our 3 funded next year, and rely on the grant to still provide the funding and offset those 3 positions that we already have trained and staffed. So we'll go from there. We are considered a subcontractor, then we provide this service to the contractors, which are Riverdale, Ogden, and Weber Fire, who have the vehicles. And this cost that's there, the overall cost of the $285,000 plus is split into multiple different areas, as on page 4 and 5 talks about specifically the vehicles. It provides about the annual allowances for training to include backfill funding. It provides a contractor and subcontractor stipend for $150 per person to become back. And then it also provides a vehicle, USAR vehicles, to do some maintenance on those of a $21,000. So that's all broken down into that section. And once again, we're because of my delay to you as are the last ones to get involved in this or to get it signed and present it to you as a council for approval. But the commission will oversee this as the governing body, and then the chiefs or their appointees will be the authorities to help maintain and provide the representatives to provide this service to the county. And we work as a team to get that done. I know there's plenty of questions out there, but my recommendation is to approve this agreement. Once again, it's not funded. There's little to no cost to the city other than our time, and that's reimbursable through the grant and this particular agreement.
These organizations provide a great service. I'm familiar with the one that the state has put together. I'm friends with several of the members, so I would definitely support this and make a motion. We accept this resolution.
Let me ask one question before you go there, Joe. I just want to make sure we get the, they're calling out, Chief, a variety of different specific training requirements. You got rope training rescue, you've got a swiftwater rescue. Our portion of the $285,000 to be allocated to that, will that cover the training requirements, or the city have to absorb that cost to train these and certify these individuals?
So this training is provided through many avenues, but we tend to reach out through the task force under the federal side because they're mandated to provide this training to all the regions and these task force as they're established. These trainings only come, they rotate through. Like last year with the COVID, all last year was supposed to be structural collapse. So we missed getting some people refreshed on that. But anybody that already has been through these training, which we have a couple in our department already, they actually just have to go through some recurring training to maintain that certification. So this recurring training costs would pay for those classes, and those classes actually are offered up free, but the training costs may end up covering their time for whoever's teaching it from those levels. It'll cover that cost, and then it'll cover the overtime or the backfill cost of that agency.
Okay, sounds like it's a win-win for everybody. Okay, any other questions, council, before Councilmember Joel gives us a motion?
I continue on with my motion to approve this. It's a great organization. Chief, will they work closely with USAR?
Yes, in fact, they usually have a representative or one, the USAR, the task force. Are you talking about the task force or the county team, sir?
The task force. Will our county interact with the USAR task force?
Yeah, our region 6 is part of that task force. If you consider it's region 6 is 1/6 of the task force as it broke down if need to be under as a state, SUSAR, so to speak, the state urban search and rescue.
Cool. My motion still stands.
Okay, a motion then resolution 21-6 approving the interlocal cooperative agreement between Royce City and Weber County for urban rescue and, urban search and rescue team. Joe, Paul, give us a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Me and Jan, we always second it.
Okay, Ann, we'll let you have this one. Go ahead, Morgan, go ahead and give us, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. We have a public hearing to consider potential projects for which funding may be applied under the Community Development Block Grant Small City Program for fiscal year 2021. Let's go ahead and have someone talk about that before we go into a public hearing.
Mayor, We're going to hold off on the public hearing with that and not do that tonight. So the
Okay,
CDBG grant will go for 3 years, the current application. So we'll do that at a later time.
okay, then I'll go ahead and ask for a motion then to table the Community Development Block Grant Program.
I motion we table it.
Okay, so Ann Jackson. Table, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Diane. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, we'll table then that particular public hearing to discuss the Community Development Block Grant Program. We do now have ordinance 21-1, considering a request to amend the general plan future land use map from medium density to medium density, single family residential to commercial at approximately 4398 west, 5500 south. Then I believe, Steve, that you're going to talk to us about this one, please.
Correct, and I'd like to talk about item 10 as well, ordinance 21-2, because again, they talk about the same property, and one doesn't go without the other. So I'd like to also share my screen. What does everybody see?
Roy City logo.
Okay, good, because sometimes it's a different screen and I'm not sure what I do. But anyway, as mentioned, maybe I can get this to work. There we go. This is ordinance 21-1 and 21-2. The first one is to consider to amend the zoning or future land use map from medium density single family to commercial. And then 21-2 is to change the zoning map from R18 to CC. Location wise, you get 4300 west and 5500 south. The red line represents the border between Hooper and Roy. So south of 55, it's Hooper. North of 55, it's Roy, and the north of that is Hooper. So this little outcropping that the city has. The property, the vacant property you see east of the yellow is already zoned commercial. This property originally was RE20. A few years ago, it was rezoned to R18. The developer or the property owner at the time thought he could get it developed as single family to be cohesive with the property to the west. As far as I know, and Mr. Grandstaff can comment further if you want, he went to UDOT to get approval to have an access point into this property and was denied. Reason for the denial is on UDOT roads, they have a requirement of so many feet before another entry point. So you get 4300 west and 4425. And in order for the commercial properties to the east of this one to have access, they had to have a variance because it's only 300 and some odd feet from each direction. So this property would never get an access. So it becomes undeliverable or undevelopable as a residential property. So commercially, they do have the ability to cross access off of an existing drive approach, where residential does not. They have to have direct access to a public right of way. So without being able to get a public right of way, it almost becomes undeliverable residentially. The next maps, so before 2017, as I mentioned, the future land use map had this area to be commercial. And as I mentioned before, the landowner thought he might be able to develop it as residential, but has fallen into some hard times. So again, as the zoning map shows, the two pink parcels are future colors, if I want to be correct, are already zoned commercial. They're just wanting to have this third parcel be the same zoning as those to the east.
Steve, do they own the green parcel?
They do not. That is a different property owner.
So that way they couldn't go in their property through the back channel. They have to go in
Well,
off 5500.
if you look at the aerial they have a cul-de-sac. So unless they get rid of that cul-de-sac and bring it down heading south, I mean, that's going to be a bigger issue as well. But you know, you never know how long this property will take to develop. It could be tomorrow or it could be 20 years from now.
Because you got that Howard Slough going through it.
And regardless, and I'll kind of talk about that now since you bring it up. Regardless if this property in question is zoned commercial or residential, it doesn't change how and what needs to be done to the slough or who you need approval through. The Army Corps of Engineers or the State Engineer's Office has to give approval to be able to alter the stream or build or affect it within 30 feet of the banks of it. So even if this was developed as residential, they would still have to go through those two departments, or if it's done commercially, they have to go through the same two departments. So in this conversation, we're just changing really the color on a map. It doesn't change how or what needs to be done to the property with the slough on it. So some of the questions that, you know, the council needs to answer, just like the commission, is does changing the zoning provide the best option for development for this property? And what is the best development as single family, residential, or commercial? And then what is best for Royse City? Planning Commission did hold a public hearing. They did forward a recommendation of approval for both of the items. Both were voted 7-0 to change the general plan and to change the zoning map.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Any questions, council, for Steve relative to this, these two ordinance changes?
So you guys recommended it be changed to commercial.
Well, I recommended the planning commission to be changed, and then the planning commission recommended to you for that to be changed.
Yeah, they're the only one, you're the only one that can change this one as a council. They can make recommendations, but they don't have the authority to change the general plan nor to change the zoning map. You're the only one that has authority to do that.
It makes more sense to me to be commercial, being on that road. But whatever it's changed to, they got a lot of work to do to have it be anything with that Howard Slough going through it. So it could sit vacant for years, no matter what it's changed to, in my opinion. But
It seems like it matches that around it, though. It matches because there is no access point. It seems that it matches that better because they at least could have an access through the other commercial property. Is that correct, Steve?
Correct. Yeah, UDOT, when this was originally looked at to develop in 2017, approved for the access point to be on the west end of lot 2, so kind of next to lot 3. There is a proposal in front of UDOT now to continue that access point. If you don't build it within so many years, you lose that approval. So they're re-requesting for that access point there. But again, if UDOT approves it on lot 2, they're not going to give it on lot 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good
I
point.
have a question, Steve.
Yes.
I was wondering, when the planning commission looks at the site plan for the lots 1 and 2, can they require that they leave an opening for access for lot 3 just in case?
Yeah, we'll make that a requirement that there is a cross-access agreement for lot 3. Again, but they still have a lot of work to do, even if they get that access point. But that's usually how things work with commercial, is we make that a requirement that there is access. You can cross it. UDOT always seeks those opportunities, and right now with the same landowner owning all 3 parcels, he just has to fight amongst himself if he wants to give himself that. So it makes it easier.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain this is the same property that is looking at maybe a fuel and convenience store or not?
No, that's potential on lot 1 and 2, not lot 3.
So
Not-
it won't
not this
spill
parcel.
over. So it won't spill over to lot 3.
No, they're not looking to purchase lot 3.
I thought they owned it.
Well, the current owner does, but the current owner is looking to sell lots 1 and 2 to a potential developer.
I see.
Okay. I don't want to go through the whole car wash battle again.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, council?
Now, the applicant is present, so if you guys have questions for him, if not, I think I've probably answered all of them.
Yeah, I think so. You did a good job. Okay, having said that, then, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 21-1 to consider request to amend the general plan future land use map from medium density, single family residential to commercial at approximately 4398 west, 5500 south?
So moved.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, we have a motion then to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ann. Okay, this is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Saxton. Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I sensed a little hesitation in there, Brian, but that's okay. Okay, having now approved ordinance 21-1, that opens up the opportunity to pass ordinance 21-2, which is consideration of request to amend the zoning map from an RE118 single family residential to CC, which is community commercial, at the approximate address of 4398 west, 5500 south. Any questions or comments relative to this ordinance? Okay, hearing none, then, and thanks, Steve, for explaining that to us. That was good. Do I have a motion then to approve ordinance 21-2?
So moved.
Okay, and I got a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Diane, I see, did I hear a nod from you, Diane?
I second it, yeah.
Okay, so Diane second that. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Motion
Okay.
carries.
Thank you. Okay. Wow, we got some good stuff done today. Now we're going into public comment period. I believe we have there he is, Mr. Homer. He'd like to make some comments relative to us in public comment. So the floor is yours, Kevin. Please give us what you're thinking.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. And I agree with you. Y'all have done a whole bunch in the last hour. I was afraid it was going to be 2 before it ever got to the public comments. I have 2 things to bring up. The first one is relatively easy. I did send out an email earlier. I just wanted to get an update on the status of the proposal to enhance the Roy City ordinances relative to door-to-door sales here in the city. I do have one other thing after that.
Oh, Mr. Homer, it's Andy Blackburn. In fact, I was working on that today. And hopefully I'll get more done tomorrow. But again, like I said before, it's a big project. Luckily, I had a lot of free time, uninterrupted time today, and hopefully the same tomorrow, and I can get this thing through within the next meeting or 2.
That sounds awesome. Good to see we're making some progress, sir. Any other updates to that?
Yeah, I think what he's indicating, he's working it. Hopefully we'll see Kevin within the next 2 city council meetings, some type of proposal coming from the city attorney on the solicitation ordinance.
Okay.
Did you have something else you wanted to talk about?
Yes, sir. One other thing I wanted to ask about.
Please.
This is a little bit bigger question. I would like to see the city provide some information about some of the loans. Basically, I'm looking for a P&L from the businesses that have participated in some of the loans from the city. I remember that the business council had given a loan to the thrift store on 1900 and 5600 South, and they're gone. Thankfully, we've got Dilly Dallies coming in. The thrift store went, Mr. Saxton, you're shaking your head no. Where's the thrift store at?
I don't think we gave any incentive to the thrift store.
Okay, well, we'll have to look that up. I specifically remember that the business council did discuss that a year and a half ago. Mr. Parkinson, how you doing? An update.
It's a business that's over there south of Harmon's. It's a clothing store. I can't remember the name of the store. Brian would know now, remembers what it is, but it wasn't the thrift store. It was this other store.
Yeah, there's been, I believe there has been 2 loans go out. One has been paid off, and the other is I don't know if I'd call it a thrift store, but it is the store up there by Harmon's.
Okay, well, this does sound like it's a different store then, because I specifically remember discussions about this business that was in Layton. They wanted to expand here in Roy. The business council specifically said, we can provide them with some money to come in here. And I do remember this. So my concern was that store, which my understanding was the city provided a loan to come here. All of a sudden they're gone, and Dilly Dallies is in that space. Now, if we have had some other loans, you know, the thrift store, if it was there, which I believe it was, is just a specific example of loans that are provided. What I would like to do is know if the city currently has basically a P&L sheet that says, okay, here's the loans that have gone out, here's the ones that have been repaid. I would like to see if we have some transparency and accountability for those monies that have gone out that the city already provides. And if they don't, I would make a request for that. And if I have to make a GRAMA request for that, I would do that. But I'm hoping that I don't have to. I would hope that the information is already available.
Okay, Andy, you want to make a comment?
Well, he would have to make a grandma request for that. We just have to do that as a matter of practice on any kind of government request. So yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I will go ahead and initiate that. But what I would hope is, you know, if the city is going to act as a business partner and give business loans, I would expect to see accountability to the stockholders, which is all the citizens in the city. I would like to see that information available to us on a regular basis, quarterly, annually, something like that. So even though I make this one request, this one GRAMA request, I would my expectation is to see this information on a regular basis so we know what's going on with the city that is being paid out by the city on behalf of the citizens.
Okay, let me help you a little bit, that Kevin, and maybe this will help. As you're aware of, there are 2 entities here. Interesting enough, they're all the same people, but technically they're actually 2 different entities. The city council has one role and responsibility, but the RDA board is actually where these loans are approved.
Yes, sir.
And so it'll be the RDA board meeting should take up your request. But we can surely look at the issue about how we want to make that information public, because we should be transparent. But if you have some specifics you'd like to do, use the grammar process to give us, we can get you exactly. But we need to take this up in our next RDA board meeting, and that is scheduled, I believe, Matt, I sent you and Morgan a note to establish an RDA board on the 2nd, I believe, of February. And so I would recommend, interesting enough, same people, but just make sure it's characterized and categorized in the right forum. I'd ask you to join us, if you will, in our public meeting during the RDA board, and also make that request as an RDA board request, because they're the ones that actually do the approval of any of these loans. And we should be able to provide updates on where we are on these, as Brian was doing.
That would be awesome. You know I love it, and I'll plan on being there.
Perfect. That'll be the 2nd of February. It'll be right after our city council meeting, and we'll go into an RDA board discussion. We have a couple items we want to cover. So I've made notes of that. We'll talk more about it between now and then and see how we best can get that public information more visible. Anything else, Kevin?
No, thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your input. Morgan, do we have anybody else who would like to make comment?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Okay, with that, we'll go out of public comment period. We do have some discussion items. First one would be is the Holiday Home Contest Awards. Matt, who's going to talk to us about this one?
We're actually going to have Morgan do it.
Perfect. Okay, Morgan, you want to share with us what you're going to do and what's planned for the Holiday Home Contest Awards?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Excuse me, I just am pulling up my. Okay. First of all, I wanted to thank the city council and mayor for all going out. We had quite a substantial list this year, more than we've ever had while I've been doing it. So I've been doing it for 3 years. This year was the most entries we've ever had, which was, I feel like, very exciting. So what we did, we had 26 entries for our holiday home lighting contest. Of those 26 entries, the city council all submitted back their top 3 votes, as well as an honorable mention. Each one of your votes, I gave a score, and then whoever got the most score, the highest score is kind of how I determined first, second, third, and then the honorable mentions that I posted on Facebook. Those were all posted on Facebook on Christmas Eve, I believe, so that the citizens and residents of Roy could at least know who the winners were, knowing that our city council meeting wasn't going to be till the end of January. But so I just wanted to recognize all of the winners. So our first place was Jason Skeen. He has won in the past and participated in the past as well. Our second place winner was Rhonda and Lonnie Thorpe. And then our third place winner this year was Edna Johnson. So we did have a couple of honorable mentions. It was kind of interesting to see as the scoring went out, some people's first and second place only had 1 vote. And so they actually didn't end up on the honorable mentions, which was kind of unique to tackle that. But the honorable mentions that I have here are Steve and Jerry Goralski. They had quite a few of you actually voted for them. They had a really great display if you had a chance to look at it. Our second honorable mention was Lance Carter. I know that Lance in the past has actually won, which is awesome. And then our third honorable mention is Stephanie Ware. She also has participated the last 2 years and I believe has had an honorable mention or a win in the past as well. So I just wanted to present those to the council. We will be sending them a gift card, their winning prize in the mail. Just because of COVID, we couldn't have our city council meeting where we usually present them with their prize. So those will be going out this week. I apologize that they haven't gone out sooner. I haven't been in the office. I've been out with sickness. So that's the holiday home lighting contest for you guys.
Okay, thank you. And for those of you that went driving around like me, I will indicate to you is that there were some great sights. Our citizens did a wonderful job, real hard real hard to pick the first, second, and third places from my perspective. So
Mine too. Yeah,
it
it was fun.
I mean,
And
it
there
was
were
fun.
some houses you drove by that you were thinking, why didn't you enter?
Yeah, we did see some of those too, Ann. Yes, you're right. Okay, excellent. Okay, utility rates. Matt, you talking utility rates?
Yes, Mayor, I will be. As you guys know, back when we were doing the budget on the FY21, we talked about holding off on the utility rates until the first of the year. And so I wanted to circle back around with this conversation here. As you know, back when we were doing the budget, nobody would have ever have thought that we were still dealing with COVID today. We kind of, I guess, wishful thinking that it would be over, but here we are. We still take a stance that it's important that people maintain their utilities on at this time during a pandemic. And I wanted to talk a little bit about fund balance. Fund balance, each utility fund has a fund balance in it. And we feel that this is what a fund balance is for during times like this. It's not every day that you have a pandemic, but the water fund, the solid waste fund, has a little bit of a savings account. As you know, the last time that we raised utility rates was last December, January 1st. And so really on a typical year, if we prolong this and have another discussion come budget time, we're only prolonging that 6 more months. And so we feel that the utility funds are adequate to maintain their rates and subsidize some of the increases that we've received with that fund balance. We can take some of those budgets towards you at the end of the year, the fiscal year, if we need extra money to dip into those fund balances. But I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation with the body to see if everybody is on the same page and feels that way as well, or if you would like staff to go ahead and try to implement something.
So what you're saying is use the fund balance to help people with their water bills. That's what you're talking about, who haven't been able to pay them because of circumstances.
Yeah,
I think that you got to keep doing that. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Staff has been working really, really hard trying to get the water meters in so we can do monthly billing. But we've been really tightening up, trying to make ends meet, but we would rather not see a utility increase during this time.
Continue course. We'll adjust at the budget time.
Okay, can I assume then, Matt, with your comment, you've got kind of a format to define who qualifies and who does not qualify?
Qualify for?
If we're going to help subsidize a utility, obviously there's going to have to come in with some type of a proof or some type of information the city can make an assessment.
Yeah, we're really not making a recommendation that we subsidize it. What we're making the recommendation is that we're not going to increase the rates.
Okay. So no
subsidies. Yes, okay. Just no increase.
I just want to make sure we understand what we're saying here, because I kind of got the impression, let's keep doing what we're doing to help those who can't pay. But what he's really saying is he's saying that what we're not going to do is put a rate increase on top of the residents at this time. We'll still draw from the fund balance to pay the bills.
Correct.
We okay with that?
Yes.
I have a question.
Please.
What is the way our fund balance is rejuvenated? So if we deplete the fund balance by no utility rate to the citizens, but the other sources are requiring us to pay more, and that draws our fund balance down, how do we regenerate that in the future? Or how do we get our savings count back up in the future?
So year to year, we budget the revenues and expenses. Obviously, it's actually, we cannot, we get an audit finding if we go over budget on an expense. And so there's usually a little bit of fluff, I shouldn't say fluff, but a little bit of money there at the end of the year that is unused, and that just goes back naturally into the fund balance. Let's say that we think we're going to get $1 million projected into revenue, and money's come in at $1.1 million. There's $100,000 going back into the fund there. So that's mainly where it comes from. And you also want to see a little bit of a fund balance because you can have capital expenditures to draw right. from. Just like this is in a utility enterprise fund, but just like in the information technology fund. He's been needing a car for quite some time. We try to piggyback that to see how long we could get with using other vehicles from other sources within the city. Ultimately speaking, we wanted to take that out of the fund balance. And that's what that's used for, is for the capital infrastructure there as well. But it's mainly due year after year that you're not spending as much as you think you will, or much as that is projected, or revenues come in. We're typically very reasonable with our projections. We don't want to overshoot those.
Right. But one thing, Diane, just so you understand, if at any point there is not enough revenue coming in to compensate for the expenses, then the council may have to approve a rate increase, which will generate the necessary difference. And so if you do have a fund balance in that you can help kind of basically discourage a need to have a rate increase, that's one thing. But your question also asked, what happens if we run out? And if we run out, then we'll probably have to absorb that cost until such time we come into another budget year and have to do a rate increase to compensate for the losses. Okay. And because that's that franchise, there's not a lot of mixing. It's not like we can take funds from somewhere else and plug it in there, and you kind of have to keep those in their stovepipe a bit, just to make sure that that we account for those dollars. And so, just recognize that right now, I think we plan to come into the new year on January 1 with an increase in rates. Was it both solid waste and water, Matt?
Yeah, we would also have to take a look at our stormwater. It's coming pretty close, yes. So all three.
So those were things that we came in. If we can hold off, have to put that rate increase in motion, then great for the residents, because we're not going to add any more money to the bill. Okay.
And that goes until July 1st, right? So what we're saying holds through to the end of the fiscal year. Thanks.
Yep.
So Mayor, so do we have a fund if people who are out of work or don't have money, do we shut their water off, or do we have a fund that helps pay for people's utility bills?
The utility office does have a list of agencies that do help out in circumstances like that. We can get that information out, but the city doesn't have a fund per se to subsidize these accounts for people.
That's correct.
There has even been some citizens that have helped out other citizens
Correct.
pay their water bills when they've been in trouble.
Yeah. That's not to say that there isn't cities that are able to do that, Ann, because they can have different pots of money to be able to provide those kind of assistance. I think Ogden has similar kinds of programs like that to try to do that, but Roy City doesn't have that. The city council is not authorized any type of subsidizing residents on utility payments.
So is it against the law to like notify the council if there's someone who is going to get their water shut off, that maybe we could pay their water bill? Is that privacy?
I assume when you say we, you're talking about the city pays it, or residents,
No,
or
no, residents, like I know residents. I mean, I would help somebody. I mean, is that against the law for you to give us that information?
Yeah, that's a good question, Matt. I'm not sure how you answer that one.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think I'd have to weigh a little bit on Andy with that. I don't know if it would be, personally, I don't know if it would be against the law to do that, though.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Andy.
I'd be more than happy to look into it. The concern might be a private individual may not want that information known, but I can look into that for sure.
I mean, we could anonymously pay their water bill, but
As an individual.
Yeah.
As a private citizen, you can do anything you'd like to do. I think the question has to be is, does the government, local government, have a role in terms of how to facilitate that? And I think that's the issue you're asking Andy.
Yep.
Yeah, because I know we anonymously have people at the high school pay for other people's fees, kids that are struggling, and they just give us money and say, help people out. So I just didn't know if we went into the utilities department and said, is there somebody that can't pay their water bill? Can we just pay it for them? And they wouldn't even, I don't know, we could just say it was an anonymous donor to help them out. I didn't know if we were able to do that, so.
Yeah, it's something we've never done.
We have done it where people would come in and pay for other individuals, and that's fine. It's releasing the other information. That's who it is and what they're not paying.
Yeah, that's really the issue. Does the government have the authority to release that privacy information to a public entity or an individual? And it gets pretty clouded right there, Ian.
So we can look into that, Ann. It's something we've never facilitated before, so.
I just think with the way things are now, I'd hate somebody to not have their water or, you know,
Or he.
they couldn't. So.
Yep, I understand. Well,
Great.
let's see what Andy can find out in terms of what options are available. And
Okay.
if there's an opportunity, I do vaguely remember that I thought Ogden had a similar program, but it was approved by the council as kind of a pot of money to do things, but it had to be approved policy change. But let's see what
Right.
comes up, okay?
Okay.
Good point. Okay, those are the items. Now we go on to city manager's report. Matt, you have some things you want to share with us?
Yeah, I just have a couple of them. Some of them I did send out on an email, but wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. Just the DRNG crossing at 6,000. The crossing lights there, the pedestrian crossing lights were damaged. They are on order to be replaced. Also, we are changing some soccer goals down at Emma Russell. Those soccer goals down there will be able to be moved. This is not the expense of the city. This is the individuals that run their programs down there, but the soccer goals that will be replacing the stationary ones that we have will be able to be used by citizens as well. So they'll remain down at that park. Also sitting here today, as you know, we are on Zoom. Last council meeting, we did talk about moving over to something Microsoft based because of price. Some of the issues with that is in a public meeting, streaming live on YouTube, and there was subscriptions required in order to stream. So the city resources, as far as the internal meetings that we have that aren't Zoomed or aren't online to YouTube, we're using the Microsoft, and then Planning Commission and City Council will remain on Zoom to facilitate that public meeting.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason why the shift hasn't happened. And then also recreation basketball has started, and so the kids are starting to play. And then last but not least, as you know, in the CARES Act funding, not too long ago, we proposed that we do something, we buy tangible goods dealing with the pandemic for nonprofit agencies. I reached out to the school district and different people, nonprofits in Royce City, to see what they could need. And a lot of the things that they did need, unfortunately, was very hard to come by at that time. And we're also talking about, like, we wanted to keep consistent in things. Staff did come up with something, and that was we do disinfect large areas with these little guns that spray a little mist that are able to kill viruses. With these guns, we have had them in our police officers' cars. The fire department uses them. If you're around the city, you can see city workers going around the city and also disinfecting a lot of the public areas here. And so the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is purchasing right now is very hard to come by during the pandemic. But the guns did come in, and we wanted to distribute those to the individuals as quick as possible. So if you guys wanted to be involved in that process, or if you wanted to have staff do that process, just let me know. But we're ready to do that at this time. So, and that would be it.
So you're talking about schools, you're saying, as individuals?
Schools, Boys and Girls Club.
Oh.
Really not, we really identified just nonprofit organizations in Royce City.
Like how many are you talking?
Primarily with the schools.
But like how many?
Oh, we have, I think.
There's 150 of the electrostatic sprayers.
Oh, okay. So I'll help if you need help.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Okay.
Okay, why don't you just set up a schedule in terms of when you plan to make your deliveries, and then invite the council members to be part with staff. And then if they can make it, perfect. If they can't, then at least they can give their regards.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, that was it.
Okay, council, you have anything you want to share? Brian, go ahead.
Yep, really quick. This Friday, City Buffet opens at 11 o'clock.
Yay.
Yeah, so that has been long coming, I know, but it still feels good to say that that space is filled, and it looks really nice. So anyway, I want to thank everybody that has helped. It takes all of us to make economic development work. So thanks. And then So Delicious will be opened very soon. Don't know what that means, but it'll be, I would think, within the next week. They're that close. And then the fitness center will be open the 1st of March. Anyway, outside of that,
Thanks, Brian.
good news.
Right.
I was going to ask you on that. We got a call from Sean Henderson of the Business Advisory Board. His interest would be are they going to do anything formal, grand opening at the City Buffet?
Well, I called Sean. I was hoping that if you're going to be there, that maybe he could get a couple of comments from you, a live shot, and put it out to where everybody could see it.
Well, here was the question. Normally, when we've done that, there has been a coordinated effort between the business owner and in this case, the Business Advisory Board. But even Sean didn't know if there was anybody that was basically formally going to have a ribbon cutting, only that they're going to open up on Friday. So he was looking for a contact point. So I guess my question to you would be is,
I gave him, I don't know if he talked to you late, but I gave him my contact.
okay, perfect. We just want to make sure if they want to do something formally at 11 o'clock that we, council, Matt, whoever you want, would be invited if they'd like to participate. So the key would be is I have not heard anything.
Everybody. That's why I'm telling you.
Okay.
Friday at 11.
Okay, perfect. Anything else, Brian?
No, outside of that, I haven't done anything this week.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question. So you know how when Village Inn was in that building, all that grass was maintained and green, and so was So Delicious, because they said that they were in charge of the water when Village Inn ran it. So now will So Delicious be able to turn on the water and make that look like a nice place again, since it looks like it's part of Roy City?
Yes. I would think they'd be able to. There's still water going to the fountain there, the city sign. So I know there's water on the property.
Yeah, because I know Matt checked last time when I complained about how bad it looked because the grass was dead, and it was Village Inn that controlled it and had shut it off. So I was just hoping that the new owner would be able to maintain that property, because it looks, in my opinion, to where the fountain's right there, it looks like it's city owned. And when you get off the freeway and look at that, once the weather gets better, it just doesn't look good, in my opinion. So
good point.
No,
Okay, Steve, you want to add comments to that?
We got to remember landscaping is done through the secondary water. So they won't be able to do anything until April.
Yeah, I know that.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want him to go get it out of the fountain and water. I was hoping that I just know that the whole summer it was dead. So I'm hoping they water it and it comes back. So.
Okay. Good
Okay.
comment. Anything else, council? Let me just share a couple of things if you don't mind. First thing is I got a request, Matt. One of the requests is that they'd like to see if they can get the pedestrian crossings on 4400 restriped. Evidently, I drove by there. A couple of those are pretty, how do you want to say? They're pretty
Faded.
all faded, and they were concerned going into that new elementary school up there. A lot of kids are walking. They don't get a bus from that location, and they walk across 4400. And so they think if it's possible to go ahead and see if we can get striping. It might be a bad time of year because of the heat issue needed to get the striping in, but that was one piece of that. Let me share, Chief Marino, I believe you're still on. I got a contact by the residents indicating they appreciated the Roy Police Department. It appears a semi, I was mentioning it to Jan, it's in her locale. On I-15, a semi, it looks like going northbound, they said, lost a tire. That particular tire came through the southbound traffic, went up the hill, went into Jan's neighborhood.
Oh my gosh.
And basically it went through the front of the fence, the back of a fence of a property owner, and ended up in the back of another residence. It was flat moving to be able to go up that hill and get into that backyards. I will tell you, Carl, Chief, the people there could not be more pleased in terms of how your police department handled that situation, and they were very appreciative of your team.
Well, thanks. I'll pass that on.
And just a couple last things, if I can share with you, vaccine appointments this Thursday at 3 p.m. If our residents and those who may be hearing, they are now going to take not just the public safety employees, the health people, the school people, but they're going to take those individuals over the age of 70. If you can remind those who you're talking to go on the Weber Morgan Health Department website at 3 o'clock on Thursday, they will open up that application process. Encourage those that are 70 and over to please start signing up, and hopefully we'll start to be able to get enough vaccine that we can get our 70s and then 65s, and we'll get our aging group of people vaccinated as we go through that process. There's no mandate. We do not force people to get the vaccine, but we surely want to encourage everybody that can to do so. So remind those over the age of 70, starting on Thursday at 3 p.m. And then just the last three actions that we have. One was mentioned today, the solicitation action. Sounds like Andy's working that. Hopefully we'll have something the next couple of days, next couple of meetings. There were also two requests from previous meetings. We were going to do a traffic speed check on 6,000, somewhere around 2,700 west. We got some people up there that basically had some concerns with high-speed traffic on 6,000. And also on 2275 west. It appears some of this may be coming from our high school students as they're screaming down 2275 west through that neighborhood. They're going a little faster than 25 miles an hour. They would just like to have verified whether or not it's a big problem or a real isolated problem. We asked the city if they would look into those two areas if you could. When you have the metering, or if you can have some capability to test to see if we have a problem or not, it would be helpful to get some feedback on that.
Can you give me those addresses again, Mayor?
I'm sorry, it'd be on 6,000 south, just around 2,700 west. And then it would be on 2275 west. They run about from 4,800 on the south, running down towards the cemetery. I'm not sure what that road is by the cemetery.
5,200. It's the road that runs right into the Roy Seminary.
Yeah. So
don't check that speed about 7:15 in the morning, because I'm usually late for work.
And if you can, please don't hesitate having your officers check Ann's speed as she's screaming up there. But that's on 2275
75,
west,
right.
between 4800 south to 5200 south.
Right.
Okay, we'll check those. We had 3 addresses over the last week and a half that we had complaints about speeding, and all of them showed, as we found so often, that the average speed is below the speed limit. But we'll check these and I'll get back with you.
And that's the great way to handle this. Appreciate it, Chief, because what I like to do is report that we've done the work, we've checked it. There could be an isolated case, but for the most part, it's not systemic. And if it is, our team is on it. So any feedback you could provide to us, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay.
If I may circle back around, to stripe there on 4400 over by North Park, the temperature has to be 50 degrees for 7 consecutive days to do that. So when we hit those temperatures, we'll be sure to stripe it.
That would be perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and I figured that's all I could do is report back that if it's needed, then it becomes more of a temperature issue than anything else. And but we'll put it on our watch list and see if we can watch for that. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Okay, council staff, anything else? Brian, go ahead.
Question, since we're talking about streets, is there any way we could work with UDOT and get some sort of flashing signals up on 1900 between 44 and 48, where there's so many kids that walk to that school?
Brian, Matt, you and I talked about that. I think you even were doing some work because there was a question that was brought up about putting the crossing guards at 44. To be honest with you, Brian, I don't necessarily disagree that they're responsible to put those Hawk traffic signals that's on 1900, which is a UDOT road. But I know that, I believe, Matt, you were doing some research up there after we received some comments about kids walking across 44, walking to get to 44 across 1900. And we're not sure, I think the report you gave me is that it was as complex or difficult as it was. But do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, so what needs to happen is a traffic study needs to take place, kind of like what Chief Moreno did down on 4800. Myself, I was going up there to count the kids, and there has to be some type of collaboration between us and the school district with that type of traffic study. That it has to meet certain guidelines in order for the state to approve a crosswalk because it's a state road. Those Hawkeyes are about about $150,000, and so they have to meet certain parameters to want to have so many kids. One of the issues that really kind of slowed this down, though, is that winter hit. We were watching it really closely in the spring, but once winter hits, not many kids do walk to school. I get that some still do, but not as many. And so it'd be more beneficial for the kids in that area to do these types of traffic studies when they have more students walking to school, so we could continue our efforts back into the fall.
Okay, good comment. Let me just make a comment, Jan and Ann, because I think this is in your court. The city has requested a couple of times that there be a committee, and the committee oftentimes involves those principals or those leaders within the schools to be a partner in a committee to discuss these kinds of issues, crossing guards, sensitive areas. I have done it personally. I think I can speak for Chief Moreno. He's also encouraged it, but there seems to be some difficulty within some of our schools to want to form those community committee meetings, invite us in where we can have a good dialogue about how we provide that kind of safety with crossing guards and these issues. I think the state law, I've read the law, I've even passed that to people I've talked to who had this interest, saying is they're responsible to call us in. We'll work with them. Let's have a mutual conversation about what's right, but they never do it. And they're, in my opinion, violating state law.
I know that Rebecca Oki at North Park has requested that type of a collaboration. I don't know. I is it her to form that or?
No, council member. There's a state law that specifies who has to be on a safety committee, and Weber School District has never formed one any place in the county.
Okay, let me see what I can find out about that, Chief. Thank you.
I can forward you the law so that you know who has to be on those committees. I've asked for it because I've been criticized numerous times for being unwilling to sign a safety plan, but not one of the safety plans that's ever been submitted to me has been put together by the right people.
Legit. Okay, let me see what I can find out about it, Chief. I'll get with you about it.
Okay.
I know our
sounds great.
high school has a community council that meets.
Yeah, it's not the
But
same.
that probably wouldn't have anything to do with that. But-
No, there are very specific members from the state that have to be involved, and Weber County School District's never done that.
Okay,
Let me see what I can find out, Chief.
that's
Also-
right, Dan's alley.
Also, Mayor and Council, I just received a text message saying that the state did say back in the springtime or in the fall that they were unwilling to put a crosswalk there, that it didn't meet their parameters for it. We do
At
have.
40,
but
you
it-
mean at 4,400 and 1,900?
Yeah, that they said
Probably,
be
because there's a
willing.
light there, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, it's not that we're not trying. I think the bottom line is that there are some things we have to operate. So Brian, maybe if Edwards actually was the one that's providing information to Matt, let's see if we can give you the follow-up information to help. But there are some issues that the state requires that the city doesn't necessarily have to require. But for your edification, it might be good to understand exactly why UDOT was unwilling to put a Hawks traffic signal light at that location. It might be good to know that. And then Jan, if you would, please get with Chief. Chief and I
absolutely
have
will.
talked this thing a couple of times. I have personally sent information out as the mayor, to be honest with you, saying this is the process. Please help us. We want to be part of this, but with no input. But coming from your other assignment, I think you can do a lot to help us do this right if you can help us.
Let me see what I can find out.
Excellent. Anything else you'd like to talk about, Council?
Yeah, I just had one last comment. As you know, we haven't had a lot of snow this year, but the times that we have had snow, I want to give a shout out to Public Works. They've done well at salting and sanding the streets, keeping them clean. Parks and Rec has done well at shoveling the walks at the parks. I walk 4 miles every morning around Emma Russell. The parks are always cleared. So I want to give a shout out to them. There will be an article that comes out in the Roy Connection next month that talks about what streets are done first, why they salt versus plow. There's been a lot of discussions about that. That article should give some good clarification to it, but they do an amazing job, and I want to say thank you for it.
Yeah, great
Got
comment.
a big storm coming this Friday and supposed to get a bunch of snow Saturday on the valley floor, so keep our fingers crossed.
There you go. Okay, well, tell Ross and his team to be ready then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Okay.
No,
hearing
Matt,
none-
I haven't talked to Jay Jones about our signs, welcome to Roy City lately. Have you heard anything?
I did have a discussion with some people about it, but no, I have not heard anything official. I'm still waiting on the official word form. They're developing. Steve, I don't know, you have not seen anything because there's nothing produced yet. So
Okay.
we're still working on the engineering aspect of it, and then we send it over to the city.
Steve, you want to make a verbal comment here?
No, just chastising Matt.
Okay. Jan, I think I seen your hand go up just before we were going to go for the vote. Go ahead. You have a comment?
Nope, I don't.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, council, staff? Okay, we appreciate your input. Obviously, we've got a lot of things accomplished. Look forward for the survey results to come in, hopefully in the next few weeks, Matt, when they're ready. And then with that, do we have a motion then to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
Okay, and Jackson gave us a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I seen Jan Burrell gave us a second. All in favor?
I
You're on mute, Joe, but I seen your lips move. That means I